Alright, so before we actually get into how to convert between binary and decimal, we're going to be giving some context first. So binary and decimal are number systems. And number systems have their own base. So binary is a number system with base 2. Whereas decimal, which is the number system we use, has a base 10. Well, what does this mean? This basically means that each digit in a decimal value, so for example, the value number 432, each digit has its own value based on its place within the number. And let's demonstrate this now. Alright, so let's revisit the number 432. So this number, in the ones place, we have the digit 2, and that value is just 2 because it's in the one place, right? The digit in the tens place, which is the number 3, that number actually represents 30, not just 3. And same thing with the number 4, it doesn't just represent the number 4, it's actually representing 400 in the context of the number. And the way we can represent this is by using the base value, which is 10, or the number system's base, which is 10, and using exponents. So let's demonstrate that now. As you can see in this example, 10 to the power of 0 is 1, which represents the ones place. 10 to the power of 1 is 10, which represents the tens place, and so on and so forth. 10 to the power of 2 is 100, and that represents the hundreds place. So I'm actually going to continue on with this process, and it's going to be helpful for learning how to convert from binary to decimal later. So first, we have 10 to the power of 0 times the value in the ones place, and 10 to the power of 0 is 1, times the number 2, which is equal to 2. Then next, we have 10 to the power of 1, which is 10, times 3 is equal to 30. And then we have 10 to the power of 2, which is 100, times the number in the hundreds place, which is 4, which is equal to 400. So if we add all these up, we get 400 plus 30 plus 2, which is equal to 432. So we don't actually need this process for evaluating decimal numbers, but we do need it when converting from binary to decimal. So let's do that now. Alright, so let's start off with a simple number. So before we begin, you have to understand that binary, since it's a number system with base 2, it only has 2 possible digits, 0 and 1. So all numbers in the binary system only consist of ones and zeros. So let's say we have the number 101 in binary and we want to convert it to decimal. So we're going to start off by using the same process but with 2's because we're working with the binary system here. So initially you always begin with 0, and then 1 and 2 and so on and so forth. So right here we're going to do 2 to the 0, which is 1, times 1 is equal to 1. And then 2 to the 1, which is 2, times 0 is equal to 0. And then we have 2 to the power of 2, which is 4, times 1 is equal to 4. So when we add all these up, 4 plus 0 plus 1, we get the number 5. So after that, we now know that the value 101 is equal to 5, where the number 101 is in binary and the number 5 is in decimal. Let's try this with a more complicated binary number now. Alright, so now we have the number 10110. So again, we always start by identifying the number's base system. So this is binary, so we start off with 2. And starting with 0 for the rightmost position, we add the exponents. And now we just multiply whatever that evaluates to. So right here we would do 1 times 0 because the rightmost digit is 0. And 2 to the power of 0 is 1. So 2 to the power of 0 times 0 is equal to 0. Same thing here. 2 to the power of 1 is 2. Times 1 is equal to 2. 4 times 1 is equal to 4. 2 to the power of 3 is 8. Times 0 is equal to 0. And then 2 to the power of 4 is 16. times 1 is equal to 16. Now let's add them up. So now if you add all those numbers up, you get the number 22. So now we know that the number 10110 in binary is equal to 22 in decimal. Alright, so if you enjoyed this video, you're more than likely interested in computer science. And if that's the case, you might want to check out my last video, which is an introduction on how to get started with coding. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.